Hello, Jeff Land. Welcome, everyone. This is my first session that I've ever done, ed session. And yeah, you guys are just going to have to sit down and let me talk about one of my favorite subjects for the next 30 minutes. So, you guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know this is quite an interesting topic. Can go very, very in depth, but I do want to keep it simple. That's what everything we're about here at Jeff, and that's just kind of keeping it simple. So, guys, swipe in. Tell me who is here, what is happening, who you are as well, and maybe any kind of questions that you have as well. Because I'm going to definitely go into as much detail as possible for any of those. I'm just trying to pull it up together over here on my side. Where are we? So, guys, this is definitely probably one of my favorite topics. So I actually jumped at the chance to do this. So I want to just kind of start out, and just kind of explain the difference first between what weight training actually is, or resistance training, as well as cardio and the different types of cardio. And then it's all about how we're going to put it together. Okay, so just still struggling to find it here. Maybe I can get it on my phone. Here it is. And I can't wait to speak to all of you beautiful people. Okay, so guys, like I said, if you do have any questions, please pop it in. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so let's kick off, guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is weight training, what is resistance training, and how do they kind of benefit us? Okay, so when we are looking at weight training specifically, okay, so this is going to refer to kind of anything that is kind of resistance. So whether you are doing it with kind of weights, we can also do it with body weight, which is what we are renowned for. Okay, and these can be done in kind of certain ways. Okay, so there's multiple ways. I mean, we can do it kind of progressive overload, we can do drop sets, we can do pyramid sets, and these are just different types of ways that we use the resistance. Okay, then and that's, I mean, it's fairly straightforward. Okay, and later I'm going to go into kind of what the benefits are as well. So then we look at kind of what is cardio. Okay, so there is kind of different, any kind of cardiovascular work. This is where we kind of want to increase our VO2 max level, as well as kind of your endurance over time. Okay, so I don't want to kind of overcomplicate it, but generally it can fall into kind of two categories. Okay, I'm just trying to pull up the comments here. How do I see them? So these can fall into two categories. Who have we got here? We've got Lizelle, we've got Wilma. Hi, guys. Linda Wallace, Nene, how you girl? Cool. So it looks like we do have quite a lot of the regulars here, as per usual. So welcome. So, like I was saying, guys, in terms of the cardio, okay, we're gonna have it into both. We've got HIIT, which is obviously a high intensity interval training. Then we've got LISS, okay, which is your low intensity static kind of cardio, okay. And what are the difference between these? Okay, so obviously the HIIT is kind of high, short, intense bursts. Okay, this is generally done over a short time. Okay, obviously because the body can't actually do that much over a long period of time. Okay, the actual funny story, or fun fact, the actual kind of invention of this was for Olympic weightlifters. Okay, it was for them to be training, for them to be doing really, really intense little bursts over time. Okay, and they were generally going at a 20-second, 10-second off, 20 seconds on, 10-second off. Okay. Now, when we go into and that's HIIT, and that's something we incorporate with Jeff a lot as well. Okay, it's very useful. It's a great kind of way to train. Okay, so when we are looking at the low intensity steady state cardio, okay, this is kind of most often associated with running, with swimming, kind of brisk walking, and other kind of cardio activities. And this we can typically do for longer periods, maybe kind of 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and up. Okay. So what the question is, why do we use them? Okay, and this can kind of it can be depending on what your kind of goals are, but most of the time it's used to kind of increase our kind of performance, our endurance, our VO2 max levels, as well as what everyone really kind of wants. Most people generally use it for, and that is to burn fat. Okay, now is there kind of a difference between kind of doing hit and lit in terms of fat burn? Okay, and this has been a heavily debated and researched topic. Okay, so just to kind of cut it out there, the answer is no. Okay, when it comes to fat loss, there is no scientific data or evidence that's presented that that one is better than the other. It all comes down to the individual. And he's actually one of my favorite kind of exercise scientific authors. His name is Dr. Ed Helms. He published a really great 2019 kind of meta-analysis, okay, looking at various people into kind of trained, untrained participants. And when it comes down to it, there's no difference in the fat loss. Okay, what it does come down to at the end of the day is the kind of time and availability that you have. Okay, so like I said, most people use HIIT because it is beneficial. You do get a lot done in a very short amount of time. However, okay, having that said, okay, when it comes to kind of fat loss, okay, the most important thing, guys, I need you to know this, and you'll hear it if you're on the one-on-one program, or I'm sure you might have heard it before. But for fat loss to happen, you must be in a caloric deficit. Okay, there is no way you're going to outtrain a bad eating plan or bad nutritional habits. That's just, and trust me, we've all tried. Okay, we've been there, we've done that. Okay, so that's kind of the difference there. So how do we use these? The one thing that when we're trying to incorporate these things, the one thing, particularly when we're looking at HIIT training, and it's something to actually note, is that it is fairly taxing on the body. Okay, now this will also depend on kind of your level of athleticism, the length you've been training, or the duration you've been training. But it is very important to note, and that's why we always say the recovery days are so important. I think I saw a comment here that someone was saying, yes, here, Charmaine Gray, the answer to your question of why rest days are so important. Okay, so the thing is, like I said, whatever we do to our body, it is taxing. Okay, when you're doing kind of high intensity work, it can be quite demanding. So it's important. Rest is just as important for your body to recover, to kind of recruit those muscles, kind of your glycogen levels, all of the above factors. It's so important. Okay, so as much as you do, you also need to rest. Okay, if you're overtraining your body, what happens is, let's say you're hitting it 7 days a week, you're not getting a chance to actually recoup and recover. So what happens is that you've gone now 7 days in a row, you go day number 8, your athletic performance, or your performance in kind of whether it be the weight or cardiovascular training, is not going to be as optimal. Then you're not going to actually reap the rewards. That's why that is so important. Okay, I think we've got another. Is it true 80% is what we eat, 20% is exercise? So that's quite interesting. Okay, so I like to think about it that it's 80-20 like this. Okay, exercise is generally maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes of your day. Okay, let's say max an hour. Okay, if you're doing it the right intensity, it should be only an hour. Okay. We sleep for between 6 to 8 hours a day, if you're one of the lucky ones. And there's other kind of 14 to 16 hours. That's that 80%, because that's all the choices that you're going to make there. Okay, so and your kind of nutritional habits, very important. Okay, now as Muchabi asked, can I elaborate on the calorie deficit? Okay, so when we are looking at fat loss, Okay, it's the amount of calories that you're taking in from your food and the amount of energy expenditure that you are putting out. Okay, that's why this is so important. So when I say a deficit, it means you're just taking in a little bit less. Okay, not too much. Okay, because then technically you will lose weight. But what you will also do is your body composition will start to lack. Your energy levels will start to lack. You'll be hungry all the time. You won't be able to concentrate. You'll be in constant fatigue and just generally lethargic. That's why when we put you on the one-on-one program, you know what I mean? We want to make sure that we're in a healthy deficit. Okay. And this can be depending on the individual, depending on the kind of height, weight, age, goals, etc. This we generally want to keep from between maybe kind of 2 to about 600 calories. Okay. Also, like I said, very nuanced into the individual itself, themselves. Okay. So getting back to on topic. Okay. Now we've got kind of cardiovascular work. Okay. Now it's obviously not going to just increase your kind of your performance and your endurance, but it's actually good for your heart. It's good for your cardiovascular system. Okay. It's one of the benefits of it. Okay. Benefits of strength training. Okay, this is what I love more than anything. For any of my one-on-one clients watching, you guys know I'm in the gym at least kind of 4 to 5 times a week if I can make it. Otherwise, I'm working out here, doing as much as possible. It's because I love it. I've turned it in from something that maybe used to be a chore before into something I really, really look forward to, as well as it really helps my mental state, and it's quite therapeutic. Okay. Now, the benefits of strength training are so vast. Okay. And that's why I'm such a huge advocate of it. Okay. So, number one, we can see kind of increased muscle mass. Okay. Now, for all you ladies there wondering if you're going to pick up a weight and get all big and bulky, not going to happen. Okay. And this is actually kind of a physiological difference between men and women, and it's that kind of testosterone levels. Okay. So, it's going to make you look good. I promise you. Okay, so don't be afraid to pick up those weights. So, with the increase in muscle mass, what happens, naturally it kind of decreases with age. Okay, but, strength training can kind of reverse that trend. Okay, and this actually helps us keeping looking and feeling younger for longer. Okay. The other thing it does is it's going to increase the kind of strength of your bones and increase your bone density. Okay. And this also really kind of reduces the risks of kind of fractures and breakages. Okay. I mean, it doesn't negate it totally, but it reduces it. Another thing, that we kind of really looking forward to, and this is very, very important, is kind of joint flexibility. Okay, so it's going to really help kind of keeping your joints kind of staying flexible, as well as kind of reducing the risk of arthritis stages. Okay, then it comes to kind of weight control. Okay, so as you kind of gain muscle, your body's going to kind of be able to burn calories easier. Okay, making it easier also to control that weight. Okay, specifically as well if you are in a good deficit, and your protein intake is also at an optimal level. Okay, and last of all, I mean, well, not last of all, but one of the main things is it's also going to really increase your balance. Okay, so kind of it increases with the increase of flexibility, your balance, and that's going to help kind of as you kind of get older, reducing your falls and injuries. And that's one of the main things that we want to kind of avoid down the line. Okay, so let's see if there's any more comments coming in here. Cool. So then, how we incorporate this? Okay, this is it's actually really really simple. Okay, now if we look at your kind of major muscle groups, okay, if we want to kind of be putting good resistance over this over time, okay, a good kind of building block or starting point is to aim for between 10 to 20 sets, okay, of repetitions. One set being, like, let's say, 10 to 12 reps, 10 to 20 of those per muscle group per week. Okay, but sound like a lot, but it's really not. And it's specifically as well if we are keeping the right intensity. So between sets, what also comes is also quite vital is the rest time. Okay, so we're looking from anywhere depending on your kind of level of kind of training. If you're kind of beginner, novice, or intermediate, or kind of pro, I would recommend having at least 45 seconds to 1 to 3 minutes between sets, depending on the kind of the heaviness and intensity that you're using. So the first thing as well is just also, the most important thing is to know what your goals are. What do you want to achieve, where your strong points are, and most importantly, where your weak points are, because we can all train our strong points all day, every single day. Okay, and it's important, the progress the real progress that you're actually going to make is from training those weak points. Okay, so for me specifically, I've been very vocal about this, and that's legs. My legs are my weak point, and I have made it a real kind of effort into training them 2, sometimes 3 times a week, no matter how sore it is. Although making sure that I'm rested and recovered in between those sets. Good general guideline if you are working something really kind of heavy, if you're doing a really intense day, I would recommend kind of 36 to 48 hours before training that muscle group intensely again. Okay, so I'm just kind of going to give you a nice good broad sense before I say how we're going to incorporate this. Okay, so the important thing to know about your kind of muscle groups is what are they, how do they work. Okay, so you've got different. We can kind of break it down, and we can kind of split our muscle groups up into various factors. Okay, so usually we can break it down into push, pull, and legs. Okay, the legs actually they're multifaceted when it comes to that. Okay, now when we're thinking of push, okay, think of anything that you use. Okay, so you would be using your tricep, you'd be using your chest, you can use your shoulders. Okay, this would be known as your push muscles. Okay? Your pull muscles are going to be your biceps, okay, because they get to retract back like that, as well as your back. Okay? Then we've got your legs, between your quads, which are going to be doing pushing, your hamstrings, which can do the pulling, and your glutes, which can actually kind of go between both. Okay, so it's important as well to have all three of those kind of to be training those all kind of equally. So you don't get out of proportion, whether it be in size or kind of strength. Okay. Now, when you kind of trying to balance these out, there's various ways. Okay, we can be training for pure strength, we can be training for size and strength, or we can be training for like kind of muscle endurance. Okay, how you split those up is going to determine on how you lift them. Okay, so a general kind of good guideline. Okay, this is not nothing is broken down because or kind of true to one person because we're also different. Okay, but if you are looking for kind of purely strength, okay, in rep ranges, okay, with regards to weights, we'd be doing generally between about 1 to 4, maybe 1 to 5 reps. Okay, so these are kind of really heavy. After that fifth rep, whatever it may be, you physically cannot do another one. Okay, then we look for kind of size and strength, which is also known as hypertrophy. Okay, so this can generally be found between the kind of 8 to 12 rep ranges. Okay, and this you would generally be using a kind of a weight that is about between 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max. Okay, 1 rep max being the most you can lift for 1 rep. Then, when we're going on kind of muscle endurance, that we're looking at kind of the rep ranges of 15 and plus. Okay, now don't get me wrong, you can actually still build size and strength when you are going for these higher rep ranges, as long as though we are taking it to failure. Okay. Auntie Pat, I see you've got an injury due to excessive weight training over the years of your rotator cuff tendonitis, right shoulder. Yeah, sure, guys. One of the most important things to consider as well when doing this or when incorporating these things is your shoulders and actually how kind of delicate they can be, particularly if you are using the wrong form. Okay, so if you're on the one-on-one or if you're seeing a coach or whatever the case may be, very important to be able to get the exact right form structures for each and every single exercise. Okay, particularly when you're going a little bit heavier with your weights, some bad form can just tweak it out. Trust me, I've done it. I had my AC joint was sore for a really long time, and that was a factor of both not warming up properly and lifting way too heavy before I was warmed up properly. So yeah, it took me also about about 6 months to recover, and it is not fun. Okay, now we've got a good breakdown of what cardio is, what how weight training is, okay, and the different kind of ranges between both. Okay, now how do you set that up for yourself? Okay, this is never going to be a kind of blanket statement for everyone. Okay, but a general kind of good guideline is what are your goals, what are your strong points, what are your weak points, okay, and we start from there. Okay, so generally for kind of any adults, I would say, I would say at least doing 2 strength sessions a week. Okay, that would be just the starting point. Okay, and that would be full body. Okay, so doing your full body in one session. Okay, 2 to 3 times a week would be a little bit more optimal, and there you will also see kind of all those numerous benefits that I explained in the beginning. Okay. Now, when it comes to the cardio, it's also going to depend on your goals and depend on your performance. Okay, so generally, I'd say if you are kind of, if you're doing a heavy kind of strength session that day, I'm talking heavy strength, okay, like with real intensity, I personally would not do cardio on that day. I would do it on a different day. However, we don't always get the luxury of time. Okay, so if you are going to do it, okay, I would always recommend starting with strength first for the optimal performance, and then doing your cardio after. Okay, so if you're in a gym, say you're in a gym environment, doing your weight training for 30 to maybe 45 minutes, and then doing maybe 15 to 20 minutes of cardio afterwards. Optimally, though, if you could do it at different times, that would be better, or on different days as well. Okay. So for me, a general kind of good guideline is doing the weight training 2 to 3 times a week, as well as then doing the cardio 2 to 3 times a week, depending on your kind of goals, availabilities, and what you're trying to do. Natasha asks here, how do you know if you are using the right weight? So that is, you're just going to have to actually, you're actually going to have to kind of test it out for yourself. Okay, so like I said, depending on your goals, are you doing it for strength? Are you doing it for size and strength? And don't worry, when I say size and strength, I don't mean big bulky muscles. Or are you doing it for endurance? So that would be the there you'd have to see. Okay, so take a weight, no matter kind of how heavy it is, pick it up and see how many reps you can do with this. Okay, if you can't do more than 4 reps for that, then I would say from there you would be doing strength. Okay, if you pick up a weight and you can do 8 to 12, maybe 15 reps of it, then I'd say that should be going for kind of generally more muscle hypertrophy. Okay, if you can do more than that, then you'd be going for muscle endurance. Like I said, you can still build muscle with all of those rep ranges. Okay, as long as you are doing it regularly and hard enough. Okay. So resistance bands, tube resistance, or dumbbells. So this is actually very interesting. Okay, so when it comes to both dumbbells or resistance bands or cables, okay, um, it both have their benefits. Okay, usually with dumbbells, what you can do is you can actually put more overload on, meaning you can do kind of heavier weights, right? Yet your point of resistance is going to change. So let's give you a little demonstration here. So let's say I was doing a kind of just a side lateral raise here with my dumbbell. Okay. Now when I'm at the top here, that's going to be the kind of heaviest point of resistance. Okay. As soon as I lower it there, as soon as it gets to about there, I'm not really kind of holding it anymore. Okay. However, if you had a band, you have resistance going all throughout that motion of movement. Okay. So but with the band, you won't be able to actually overload it as much, keeping it throughout. Okay, so it's really good to be able to do both. Okay, so it's kind of once a week, maybe just using heavy dumbbells doing it. Okay, and there you can go for your strength training. Oh, well, the kind of strength reps, as in 1 to 4 reps. And then with the bands, you can be increasing those. Okay, because you'll have a point of resistance all throughout that motion. Okay. I hope that explains it for you. And there's never really kind of one that is better than the other. Okay, each of them have their kind of benefits, and each of them will be good for you in the long run. Okay, so I mean that's kind of all it is. So with my clients as well, it's really which through this process, and it's the beautiful thing about this process is that you can really get to know your body. You can really get to know what works, what doesn't. There's some exercises are just not going to work for everyone. Whether you've got kind of previous injuries, whether some of us, our bodies just aren't in the same proportions. I mean, a really tall person compared to someone like me are gonna, especially kind of when it comes down to kind of squatting or lunging, sometimes they might find it a little bit difficult, and that's totally okay. But then it's always worthwhile to look at what exercise is going to work best. This is a topic that is so vast and so broad, but kind of just to give you a little bit of a kind of good conclusion. When doing it, I would recommend at a starting point, building a good kind of foundation and baseline is to be doing strength training 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, doing full body. Okay, using multiple ranges of reps and weights, really discovering kind of what your body's good at, as well as incorporating the cardio also between 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, depending on your time, depending on your availability, depending on what kind of works for you. Okay, so the important thing as well is when you are kind of going for the strength kind of things, always focus on that form, focus on the structure. If you don't know, that's what we are here for. Okay, this is when it comes to this, I will answer anyone at any single time of day, a day or night. It's because it's something I'm very passionate about. Okay, I just want to see if there's anything more here that I haven't answered. Oh yeah, and this just to is what I maybe said earlier for those of you that might have missed it, guys. When we are looking at fat loss, okay, it is so important that we cannot rely on training to create that total caloric deficit. Okay, the 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 deficit in your diet or your eating, that's where it needs to come from. So Lisa, are body weight exercises as effective? Yes, they really are. And this is where so this is kind of where the difference between the body weight exercises will come. Usually for body weight exercises, we won't be able to kind of overload them with the weights as much as we would, let's say, kind of or with weights or in a gym setting. Okay, so it's important that when you are doing these body exercises, that you're really kind of pushing yourself and pushing that limit. Okay, so if you can do, let's say, 20 squats in 30 seconds with kind of with moderate kind of difficulty, the important thing is that in every set you either keep that rep range, okay, that it stays there, or as I always give advice to my clients, increase it. Okay, so let's say you're doing your one-on-one or live session, whatever it is. We've got 4 sets of squats for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Okay, whatever you can get for that first set, that needs to be the benchmark. Okay, we never want to go below that. Okay, because that's going to take away from essentially our progressive overload. Okay, so you keep that rep range there, or you increase it until you just can't anymore. But as long as that benchmark is there, and you don't fall below that, then we're going to be all good. Okay. 80-20 rule applies, Cheryl. So like I said, the when it comes to the 80-20 rule, it's just about the timing. Okay, so for me, I like to kind of really focus on the 80. Is it 80% one, 20% the other? We give 100% to all of it. Okay, but what's going to really come down to at the end of the day is because we're not always going to be 100%. Life is such. Sometimes we good, sometimes we bad, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. Okay, but what it is going to come down to over the long run is the consistency. So whether you giving 100%, 110% during your workout, or some days you flat, maybe you haven't eaten, whatever the thing, you've got something in your mind, and you're only giving it 70%. That's okay. as long as the work actually gets done at the end of the day. So consistency trumps all. Okay, so as long as we are following a good eating plan, as long as we are exercising regularly, having a good combination of both, your kind of your weight training or your resistance training, whether it be with weights or with body weight, and we are incorporating our cardio, whether it be HIIT training or steady state cardio, as in jogging, running. That's gonna be the difference. And having a multitude of all of these is going to be really, really beneficial at the end of the day. I think there's it, Candice. We give 100. We give 100% in everything. Guys, I think we are out of time. I could just speak about this all day. Before I wrap up, does anyone have any other questions? If not, you are most welcome to DM me on Instagram at Coach Jethro, or send me a message on Facebook at Coach Jethro. And yeah, guys, thank you for being part of my deep dive. Like I said, I'm extremely passionate about it. I mean, I'm so happy I got to speak to you guys. I was extremely nervous before I came on here, but once I started talking, everything just went away. So that is it for my section of Test Me Tuesday. I hope. Oh wait, here we go. All day consistency. There we go, guys. Thank you very, very much. I hope everyone has had a great Test Me Tuesday. You've all been there for the live sessions. And I will see you again for my next session when it's scheduled. Thanks, guys.